this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we are kind of checking out our dad's zodiac sign and kind of see what kind of parent he's been to us. I think this is a really interesting one. I did one for Mother's Day, so if you haven't looked at that one, go back and look at that because it's really a great insight into our parents and like their parenting style and how does their zodiac sign kind of really dictate their parenting style for us. I think that's kind of one of those like interesting. Now, dads are the same way, and I think it's really interesting because no matter if your dad was like a gearhead into cars or if he's a fixer-upper, kind of like he loves to always work around the house, or if he's just one of those guys that just kind of keeps to himself, this will give you a great insight into their personality through their zodiac sign and being your dad. So let's talk about an Aries dad. Of course, a dad with the sign of the Ram is going to be a little bit more like pushing, kind of not nearly as like give up, but it's one of those, it's going to be one of those dads that really pushes us to really kind of work as hard as we can, go give it all we've got. And I guarantee you, this is the dad that's not going to be like, you got a participation ribbon for what? It's one of those, he loves when you are really doing your best, kind of working forward, because that's the way he is. He's probably kind of really enforced like a scheduled game night, maybe board games. He could even be the one that throws this, kicks around the soccer ball or throws on the baseball or something like that in the backyard. He's the guy who's going to get out there and physically kind of be active with you. It's one of those, he really always really cared, but it's one of those, a lot of times like it's in action. He's always in action, so that's how he really showed his energy with you of kind of like being in action. Let's play a board game. Let's do this together. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a climb. Let's go for a hike, kind of in the action part of it. Now, I will tell you kind of some of the things that like an Aries dad is really going to be very protective. He is going to be always protecting you, always kind of thinking about your kind of like what's coming at you and kind of protecting your energy at all times. Now, I will also say they can be super, super playful and kind of that fun part, but I guarantee you, usually always like super positive and kind of like pushing you to be the best you can be. Let's look at a Taurus dad. Now, a Taurus dad is going to be one that is going to be kind of like that interesting side of let's be at home, let's make this home comfortable. Probably the one that's always working on some type of project, something that's going to make the house easier, better, more efficient, and kind of more homey, because Taurus really, really love like that home setting. And usually they're very steady and earth sign. They usually probably like gardening and being out in nature. And this will kind of give you an insight in kind of like a Taurus dad of like being that steady, stable dad. He is very kind, very dependable, and will always be kind of like that one that you can always call on. Like, what's the answers to this? And what's the answer to that? Or how do you figure this one out? He really kind of usually has a strict routine, or a routine that he always does. Like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, dad's eating dinner. It's 6 o'clock, he's doing this. So you're going to have that dad that has like that steady, almost like built-in calendar system into him. And now I will tell you, because he's a Taurus, he can be a little kind of picky, and he can be, let's just say, stubborn is the best way to put it. They can be really stick in the mud with certain things, like, no, it has to be this way. So they can be really stubborn, and so that can make like being a dad a little bit more difficult, but it doesn't make that it's impossible. Interesting. Let's go to a Gemini dad. Gemini dads seem to be younger than they really are. And I think it's because that Gemini energy is always about getting out and finding things that are interesting to them, and really kind of, they never grow up. It's kind of like they're always that fun-loving dad that wants to do things together. I will tell you, this is the kind of dad that usually has like an ulterior motive of like, let's do something together, let's get together, let's kind of nurture that energy together, but also kind of one of those of bringing in different people, kind of like asking for what's already coming in at you. They're very curious, and so they're going to ask about your friends, where you've been, what's going on. They have tons and tons and tons of energy, so they're going to, like I said, they're going to be constantly, let's go do this, let's go for a walk, let's go for this, and they are super friendly. So your friends, your peers are going to be like, oh my gosh, your dad is amazing, because he has a very friendly attitude. He wants to get to know people, but the way to get to know people for him is being super friendly. So he's going to be that dad that everybody loves. Let's go into a Cancer dad. This is one of those that you're probably going to be really close to your dad. And this is kind of giving you that kind of like, when you think about dad, you're going to think about being home and being secure and being around his energy. I guarantee you he's going to have a lot of hobbies, and they're all going to kind of weirdly circle around being at home. So this is a dad that's going to love cooking and cleaning and gardening and woodworking, kind of working with his hands. Always that kind of like energy of like, let's do something to improve things, to make our home better. And so he's always going to be in that motion. He is always going to have some very unique hobbies. He may like be really, really, really into woodworking, or really, really into gardening, or like a gourmet cook. So that's what I'm saying, like kind of like beyond the normal. They're kind of love being that unique energy. Even a 5-minute phone call for him is really comforting. It's one of those, like, he loves to communicate at times, and it's one of those, but like he likes to say it and then done, he's finished. It's not like we need to talk about it for 5 hours or anything else. He is going to be very compassionate and very caring, and I guarantee you he's going to be one that you're going to have to like kind of pull out the updates out of him. He's going to ask you tons of questions, but he's not going to share just as easily. So it's kind of like, interesting. He is going to kind of always be asking questions, and kind of that curiosity really, really is going to draw him in. Let's talk about a Leo dad. A Leo dad is always in your corner. He is maybe a little too much, maybe like dad, take a step back a lot of times. But it's one of those, Leos love like that loyalty, and they love to be there for everything. So this isn't going to be the dad that's going to be at like every game, no matter what age you are. He's going to be there as if he can, at all possible, he is going to be there. He is going to be really about like overwhelming love. He is going to be showing you kind of like, I want you to be protected. I want you to be kind of like, kind of that energy. I guarantee you he is also going to be a force of nature, because that Leo energy, he is going to want to fight your battles and everybody else's battles, and he's not shy about kind of like getting in someone's face, maybe a little confrontational at times, but one of those like, I want to make sure that my family gets the best things in the world. So that's kind of one of those, yes, let's do this. I will say this is the dad that is going to be kind of like always really honest, always very generous, and kind of like that energy of just like love, acceptance, and they can be a little bit dramatic, and that just kind of really comes in a lot with that Leo energy. That's just that Leo energy in them that is going to bring up a little bit, maybe too much drama for some people. So let's talk about Virgo dads. Virgo dads are one of those usually very thoughtful and always kind of that prepared, kind of like almost like that Boy Scout, like they're always going to be prepared. This is the type of dad that'd be like, oh, I'm not going to wait up for you, but waits up anyway. I will say this is one that's going to kind of always be a helping hand and always be super helpful in no matter what's going on. If it's a few extra bucks, if it's doing this for you, or kind of like, I accidentally bought an extra and here you go. It's a dad that's always going to be there, that one that's always going to be on your side. And I will say Virgo dads are not the ones to do kind of like the grand gestures or anything else, but he's going to make sure that your basic needs are taken care of. He is going to be the dad that is always like on your side, and a lot of times, like no matter where he is, he's going to be like one phone call away, or you'll turn around and there he is out of the blue, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were coming. And that's one of those amazing things. These dads are always kind of like ready for anything that comes up, but almost has like that psychic side. Like they have like the exact thing that you require at the exact time. Like, oh, Dad, I was here and I needed this. And then all of a sudden he's like, here, I bought it for you yesterday. And so that's kind of one of those like easy kind of fun energies. And he's always going to be around. He's always going to have that great insight. Let's talk about Libra dads. Libra dads are going to be your friend no matter what, plain and simple, just going to be your best friend. And this is also like that parent that's going to be staying in balance. It's one of those, it's kind of this being clear about him being friendly and showing you that he's always got your back. He always loves to kind of like playing roles of kind of like disciplinarian, but then he can also be your best friend at the same time. So you're kind of like, where'd you come in with that? And that's that balance of their energy. I will tell you, this is a dad that really has like this fair, balanced energy with them. Usually kind of can be a little nervous and kind of like overwhelming. And a lot of times when they get in that nervous, overwhelming energy, they usually become very invasive. Like I've got to find out why they're keeping something from me, or kind of like, where is this energy? I will say this is the kind of the stuff with Libra dads is like there's always going to be that insight that they have to have, that insight of energy, and they're always going to be that cool dad about like, hey, I didn't know this was happening, and they're always going to be like right where you need them to be, but I guarantee you not overwhelming. He's going to kind of know that balance of where he belongs in your life and where you got to have your friend's life as well. Let's talk about Scorpio dads. I will tell you, Scorpio dads are kind of one of those dads that are very intuitive. So they're always going to be kind of like, what's going on, or I feel something this or that sort of thing, or is going to call you in the middle of the night just to check on you. They're usually very like super open-minded about new ideas, and they love to kind of like do the research. So they kind of love to get down in that Scorpio energy and kind of like, let me do the research for you, let me do this, and kind of really loving that part of who you are and kind of like being a part of it in his own way. Scorpio dads are usually very quiet. They're very reserved and very private. They want to know a lot about you, but they're not going to share a lot about them unless you kind of pull it out of them. This is going to be kind of like powerful, but in a very non-powerful way, which I know sounds interesting, but more like, I guess, in a subtle way of like, yes, this is what I want and this is how this is going to work out. But it's one of those, they're going to have like this, you need to feel free in this, you need to feel empowered by this, and keeping that super open mind and kind of really non-judgmental in a couple of areas. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'll do your thing. So let's talk about Sagittarius dads. Sagittarius dads are kind of like the spontaneous, let's go out and have dinner and let's drive an hour to get there. Lots and lots and lots of dad jokes, because I know a couple of Sagittarius dads, they love the dad jokes. This is the one that's going to be like super spontaneous. Let's go for a hike. Let's go for a long trip. Let's go for this. Let's go to grandma's house for dinner, or whatever it is. And kind of like this, always that curiosity, always that like moving forward and that sense of adventure with them. They love kind of that easygoing, enthusiastic energy, but it can be a little overwhelming as well. They can also be easily distracted, kind of like, oh, shiny thing, let's go this direction. So that can be something. And I will tell you that if you have a Sagittarius dad, I guarantee you vacations or trips are always going to be an adventure. It's always going to be like, oh my gosh, here we go. They're easygoing and very enthusiastic about so many different things. Let's talk about Capricorn dads. Capricorn dads really like setting goals and kind of like pushing you forward, because it's one of those, they want you to succeed and kind of like that supportive energy. Like, I want you to succeed, so I'm going to give you the support and the structure to do that. Capricorn dads can be hard to read just because their energy, a lot of Capricorns kind of keep things hidden in that area. So you have to kind of like pull that energy out of him. They may seem cool, calm, and like in charge most of the time, but they're usually not. Kind of like that's that inner kind of drive with them. I will tell you that they are usually very driven. They've been driven, and so they want to drive everybody else. Like, I want you to be a success. I'm a success, and I want everybody else to be a success because it's fun to go, I've won this or I've done this, like kind of like that kind of dad. Yeah. This is the dad that really isn't really super attentive. They're not a super huggy dad. They're gonna kind of like lack in that love department, kind of like showing you the love, but they're gonna be there in so many different areas. They're just the one that you're gonna have to be like, you have to give me a hug. You're almost gonna have to demand it. Like, you have to do this. They seem to be kind of sentimental, but they really are on the inside. So it's kind of one of those, like, they keep it really, really well hidden for a lot of people. So the next one is being a Sagittarius dad. This is a dad who has tons of interest. He's kind of that rebellion dad, so he's going to have tons of things around the house that he started but hasn't quite finished yet. This is like, I always love doing this, and then he kind of gets sidetracked and kind of like, oh, let's go do this instead, or let's go do this. A lot of times they love that creative energy. They love kind of getting outside the box and really working on new projects and starting things. Where they kind of lack a little bit is kind of following through, kind of like, let's finish this off. This can be a great way. They are usually have this like really great luck and kind of like this quirky way of figuring things out that other dads may not have ever gotten the memo on. So they're going to be like that crazy side in there. I will tell you that Aquarius dads are going to be the ones that are very loving. They can be a little moody at times, but it's one of those, they love showing the people around them how much they love you, and they really love to kind of reminisce about, do you remember when we did this? Do we remember when we did that? They love that kind of energy and really love supporting not only you, but other people in that energy as well. Let's go to our last one, which is Pisces. I will guarantee you, Pisces is the warm, fuzzy, huggy, want to hold your hand all the time, the shoulder to cry on. He loves to be there no matter what. Very empathetic to what's going on, very supportive in that energy, is never too busy to check in on how you're doing or how you're feeling. Almost, it's one of those, they have this great way of making sure that you've gotten everything done, and I guarantee you they are the best dad huggers ever. They are super smart, super imaginative, and they love to show how much they love not only you, but everybody else around them. They're going to have that like kind of quirky energy. Now, I will tell you that Pisces dads really get stressed out easily, which is kind of like, yeah, they really do get stressed out easy. They're going to be overwhelmed kind of pretty easy, but I guarantee you this is going to be something that you're going to treasure forever. Kind of like this very absent-minded kind of professor energy with them, but I guarantee you, no matter what, they're always on your side. I thank you so much for joining me for this. I have so enjoyed kind of talking to you about your dad's energy through the zodiacs, and hopefully I got this right. I hope that you're totally amazed by the type of dad that you have. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.